Okay, so this is Death and Taxes by Sarah Blackwell. Gods are not born of belief. That is a fallacy. Gods are shaped by belief, altered by it, even strengthened by it, but it does not make them. Belief creates, but what it creates is not gods, but personifications, perhaps. Death is the first and the oldest of us. When people learned to fear death, to see not only a cessation of life, but a destruction of being, death came into existence. Death, my gentle brother, is an answer to the deepest longing of the human heart. I am afraid. I do not want to die alone. That thought was felt before it could be spoken, before speech was conceived. Humans longed for a comforting presence when they died, not chill oblivion. Death offers it and leads them on. I, too, predate speech. Speech, or language, is a flitting, fickle creature, born of the desire to communicate, mercurial and yet constant, like the air itself. But I am not like her. I have had many names, but what I am does not change. Fairness, perhaps, was my first name. Long before sound became words, the thought of fairness existed. It's not fair. It should be fair. I came into being the first time a hungry member of a troop was fed by one who had hunted well, the first time a weaker hunter was robbed by a strong one. I've had other names. Karma, justice, equality. Under all those names, I am loved. But call me tithes or taxes, and oh, how I am reviled. It puzzles me. I'm still myself. I'm still the balance of power, the aid to the weak and the curb to the strong. And yet I'm hated by those names alone, and venerated by others. I sit in my chamber, reviewing the lists. I do not truly need to assume a human form, but for those of us who have been pictured as humans so often, the form becomes easier than formlessness. A woman's form is mine, and I wear the blindfold that justice has given me, though it does not keep me from seeing. Because it is the nature of taxes to keep records, I have records of every human life ever lived. Death comes to me, leading a soul. This happens more and more often lately. My brother, who grows thinner and paler every year as the skeleton Death becomes more popular, looks weary. The spirit looks truculent. This one, he said, disputes. I demand that my case be reviewed. Are you God? God knows I am. God does not decide the fate of souls, I said calmly, drawing up his record. I do. Gods, truly, do not care greatly what becomes of the dead. He quailed a little. Are you fate, then? My brother and I both smile at that. Fate does not exist, I told him, though you humans wish for it. But there truly is no power that has any effect on any of you, save for chance, who is the first and greatest power and takes no more interest in a mortal soul than in a star or an atom. I'm the one who decides what becomes of you. Who are you? He looks at me closely, at the blindfold, at the scales that stand on the table before me. You are justice? Who else would you choose as a final arbiter? He hesitates, and I know what he wanted. A blind, partial God who would love him for his lip service and forgive all his sins. Well, at least he's not stupid enough to say it out loud. Karma is another name for me, or fairness. I examined his record. And in fairness, mortal, your living did not earn you a pleasant dying. No, you will suffer, in proportion to the suffering you caused before you are permitted to return to the living world and live again, and it will be long and terrible. But I wasn't a bad person. Not really bad. I didn't kill anyone or start a war or anything like that. I examined the ledger at the end of the record. You died owing more than $1 billion in taxes. Even had you used your workers kindly and created more in the world than you destroyed, you would suffer for that. He stared at me, his mouth gaping. But, what does that matter? I don't understand. That's just money. That isn't supposed to matter here. Of course money matters here. Did you expect the money you gave to charity to matter? Or didn't you expect the money you gave to charity to matter? Yes, but that was different. That went to people in need. And did you think your taxes wouldn't? That they should not be used to provide for the needs of those who have nothing? My voice sharpened. Mortal, I am justice. I am fairness. I am what is owing and what is owed, taxes and tithes, the duty of those who have to those who have not, of those who are strong to protect those who are weak, of those who have power to use that power to the benefit of those who have none, or are a part of what I am. He shook his head. But that's not how taxes work. It saddens me how true that is sometimes. It's how they're supposed to work. To provide as a society what individuals cannot create for themselves, from roads and aqueducts to food for the hungry and armies of defense. Those who subvert the purpose of taxes suffer dreadful punishments of their own. But that does not excuse you. You did not pay the society what you owed it, and you laid the burden of sustaining that society upon those who had little. Do you truly think that is not a sin? He trembled, then went to his knees before me. I didn't know! You can't punish me for something I didn't know! You knew that it was wrong. You chose to do it anyway, thinking you would not be punished. I closed the record again. Your appeal is denied. Your ledger contains a significant debt, and you will pay it. They all think it's unfair, though I don't know why. The final accounting is always just, bringing their ledger to a final balance, a perfect equality of good and evil. Those who do good in the world, who give more than they take, even if all they have to give is a smile or a kind word, have nothing to fear from me. Those who take without giving, who cause suffering to others by their own desire for power or money or blood, must experience precisely as much suffering as they have caused. And taxes. The means by which a flawed society tries, or should try, to balance the scales between rich and poor, to ensure that money is not hoarded and services are made available to all, are of great weight on the ledger. I am fairness, after all. Those who benefit from the suffering of others in one world must suffer to their benefit in the next. Many a poor worker will find their ledgers in a positive imbalance thanks to them, as he pays his debt to them with his suffering. Though, I think, given the choice, they would have preferred a fair distribution in life. But at least they may enjoy the place after and before life, and be happy before they return. Fairness, like death, can be put off but never evaded. Sooner or later, the ledger will be balanced. Whether that is a pleasant or an unpleasant experience is entirely up to the personal choices of the soul in question. And of course, what debts are owed to it. Death is kind, merciful in his way. Justice, taxes, karma, whatever name I am called by, I have no mercy at all, and no kindness. Only the ledger. Only what is fair.